Pridgeon said the most extraordinary thing at work to me today. He had noticed that my hair was turning grey. According to Pridgeon, it was lucky I was not looking for a job, as they do tend to go by appearances these days. He wondered why I didn't do anything about it. "What is your recommendation?" I asked. He suggested I rub some paraffin into the scalp. "Thank you," I said. "I'm not at present thinking of making any changes, but if I were, I'm sure my general appearance and testimonials would not detract from my chances. The strong smell of paraffin quite possibly might." But then he went on to tell me of an occurrence he had learnt in the office. Figgis, our head clerk, was to be sacked, and his post lay vacant. After lunch, Mr. Bagshaw sent for me. He asked me how long I'd been with the firm. 16 years, sir, I said, and I hope to your satisfaction. I knew at once he had something important to tell me. He'd noticed that I was getting on, as he put it. Wasn't I a little embarrassed by the nature of my responsibilities? I replied that copying out the ledger book was indeed an onerous privilege, but, as I said to him, I bear my burdens as I believe the fabled Atlas once bore the world. Mr. Bagshaw said something about boring the world, which I did not quite catch. Anyway, he confirmed Pridgeon's darkest suspicions. Figgis was indeed to be dismissed. Not, as one might have expected, for his abandoned usage of the office stationery, but because he was a traitor. A careless remark by young Gillivant had revealed that he was considering a position with Drew, Smedge and Billing. I felt compelled to inform Mr. Bagshaw that I once knew a postman whose brother had a position with the self-same firm. This obviously impressed Mr. Bagshaw, for he fixed me with a searching look. I then knew that he intended me for higher office. Of course, I had expected such an elevation for years, but I was nonetheless surprised. Curiously enough, Mr. Bagshaw was a little surprised himself when I thanked him. Ah, Parker. There's to be some reorganization of the household and of your position. I've been keeping a very close eye on you, Parker. Do you know you're getting on a bit? I'm sure you've noticed yourself. I wonder why you don't do anything about it. We do go by appearances these days, you know? Yes, we need a young and energetic spirit, Parker. A level of efficiency and organization on quite a different scale. A quality of service comparable to that required by our noble monarch. Character has led to this elevation. Ability, of course, has played a role, but I assign it principally to character. Our son will grow up to be proud of his father's achievements.
Yes, Ernest, I'm sure he will.
Eliza, I do think you could be a little bit more enthusiastic. This is momentous news. I felt compelled to have a little word with Parker today.
Oh?
Yes, I'm afraid she's no longer suited to a house of this class.
Oh, yes.
Eliza, have you ever noticed that disagreeable odour about Parker's person?
She's a good worker.
Her preparation of giblets is certainly not up to my standard. I have today suffered a misfortune and injustice, and it is Pridgeon who's behind it. I can hardly sully my lips with his name. I wonder if that serpent has any feelings of shame. He might well blush, considering the unhappiness he's caused this household. It would appear that Pridgeon is to take over the position of head clerk. Well, we all know what his father was. A petty provincial shopkeeper. Of course, he will only make himself ridiculous. Mr. Bagshaw will very soon realize that he's not up to the job. Well, one might say, why trouble one's head with people of that class? I think the sooner it's all over, the better. I shall let the contemptible Pridgeon know what I think of his elevation, and I shall march into Mr. Bagshaw's office, and I shall... There's a point of principle here, Eliza.
So you've got a new job to go to, have you? They go by appearance these days, you know. Do you know that you're starting to turn white? I wonder you don't do something about that. Now, my mother has a recipe using paraffin. You just rub it in.
I know my hair is a little less, well, than it was. However, with a little reorganization and brushed in the right direction, you can hardly detect any sign of discoloration.
I should brush it in the right direction if I were you.
It is already brushed in the right direction.